Okay, we'll start with the prayers all together. Om
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्
सरस्वती
नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा।
सदा ॐ
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
ॐ
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं
नत्वा
ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते।
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
All right. So we were looking at the final topic of Tattva Bodha, which is the Aikya Jnana Phalam. And the Phalam is of, you can say two varieties. Actually, it is one, but we can look at it from 2 points. One is Jivan Mukti, that is liberation while living, and Videha Mukti, which is what happens when the Jnani's body drops. And we had seen the two different kinds of karma phalam also, the visible and the invisible, drishta and adrishta phalam. So under adrishta, we have punyam and papam. They are the seeds for the future pleasure and pain. They give pleasurable or non-pleasurable experiences in the future. And it is unpredictable to say when it will fructify. When this particular punyam will come to fruition, we cannot really say. And another important thing to remember is that punyam and papam do not cancel each other. Okay, just because after doing some papam, I do something that is punyam, it doesn't mean that they get cancel. That doesn't happen. Both have to be separately experienced. And sometimes in some situations, it is a mix. There is punyam in the form of resources and papam in the form of a difficult situation that I have to face. And then the author had given in this statement the 3 different types of karma. And we had seen this Sanchita, Prarabdha, and Agami karma. What is Sanchita karma?
Is a storehouse.
The storehouse of all the karmas from all the lives. So it is, because this is also in the form of punyam and papam, but all the punyam, all the papam, everything put together is stored. And that is the Sanchita karma. Then what is Prarabdha karma?
What we get by birth or like where we are born and which family we belong to and which country.
Yes.
It is that portion of Sanchita karma which has to be, which we get in this life.
Yes. It is a portion of Sanchita which is allocated for one particular birth. So all of the things in this life that have come without me working consciously for it. So there are many things in this life that I have worked for, but there are many things that have come without me asking for it also. All of that is prarabdha karma. Again, this is also in the form of punyam and papam. Then there is agami karma. What is that?
We're going to get in future.
Karma.
The karma performed in this life which will bear fruit in the future, or maybe added to prarabdha. Some of it may be added to prarabdha.
Yes, it is the karma that is done in this very life that generates some phalam. So, whatever action I take now, deliberate action that I take, and then that becomes karma phalam. It generates karma phalam, which can either generate in this life or it goes and joins the sanchita stock. Okay, so in the form of prarabdha, it happens in this life itself, and then the remaining portion joins with sanchita and gets to fruition in some other life. Okay, is this clear?
Yes.
Then we were looking at the law of karma, the different corollaries that we have. So the first one is karta eva bhokta. So the one who does the action, he alone experiences the fruits or the results of that action. So actions have consequences, and whoever does the action, he alone must bear the consequences of that action. In other words, karma is not transferable. We cannot pass it on to anybody else, and nor can we get anybody else's karma. So, even when it comes to parents, their karma is not passed on. So, many times they say that if parents do a particular yajna, then the benefits are passed on for 7 generations and all that. So, it is just to glorify. But really speaking, there is no transfer of karma because karta eva bhokta. Then present action is responsible for future experience. So if the past action that I have done is responsible for my present situation, that means whatever action I do now is responsible for my future experience. So Shastra never says that don't act or don't, take responsibility for your future. We never say that. We have to take responsibility for our own futures. It is not a fatalistic approach. Fatalistic means that this situation has come, it is fixed in stone, I cannot change it, this is set. No, that is not at all the idea of Shastra. If anything, this theory is the remedy for a fatalistic approach. We never say that it is set in stone, it is unchangeable. We always say that the choice is in your hands. You can always act. You can always choose to do certain things, choose to do different things, choose to do nothing also. So the choice is always there with us, and we must exercise it responsibly, knowing that this is what will generate my future situation. Then the problem is not with God or the world, but with my wrong equation. So we are unable to see the cause and effect relationship of karma most of the time. Sometimes in this life we see, but many times we are unable to see because the cause is sometimes hidden to us. It might be some action from a previous life. Since I have no knowledge about any of my previous lives, I am unable to correlate the cause and effect. And in any case, it is difficult. We don't know which effect is related with which cause. We don't know which particular effect is happening right now, which I can relate with either a cause from this life or a past life. So, because we cannot see this, we think that God is impartial or the world is unfair, all these things. But actually, the law of karma is the most unbiased, most fair, most just law in the world. Okay? There is no partiality. It is just what I do. I alone experience the consequences of that. Sometimes I cannot see the cause, but it is very much fair. Just like the law of gravity. The law of gravity is not partial to anybody. It never says, I like you, so I will pull you more, and I don't like somebody else, so I will not pull that person. The law of gravity cannot say that, right? It is a bunch of rules, a set of rules that work according to the laws of physics. In the same way, the laws of karma also continue irrespective of who it is. So, this is the law of Ishvara, the law of karma. The problem, however, is with my perception. I believe that, because I'm unable to see the cause and effect, I feel that good people must experience good things only and bad people must experience bad things. But that is not the case. We cannot correlate the present bhokta with the present karta. We have to correlate only the present karta with the previous, the present bhokta with the previous karta. Only then the equation makes sense. The next one is the availability of prayashchita karma. Now, we don't know what prarabdha holds for us. We don't know what is waiting for us. And sometimes we would like to know. So we look at horoscope and these things. If done correctly and accurately, horoscope is actually a reliable indicator of prarabdha. It has to be remembered that the planets do not cause my prarabdha. They are not to blame. They are also just following their own laws and doing their own thing. But it so happens that there can be some clues that can be got from prarabdha, from the planets about prarabdha. But we must never forget that we have a very powerful weapon with us, which is called agami karma. And that is what is prayashchitta karma here. Prayashchitta means remedial, a remedy or a solution for any particular problem. So, for example, if the prayashchitta, if the prarabdha is like weather, and we have weather forecast, right? We are able to get some clues about the weather. It is not always spot on, but still we have some idea sometimes. So suppose the forecast says that there will be rain today. So what do I do? Do I just give up and say, oh, there will be rain, I will not go anywhere, life is impossible, and I'm stuck here? What do I do if there is rain?
We equip ourselves with an umbrella.
Yes, we equip ourselves properly with an umbrella or with a raincoat, or instead of taking the scooter, you take the car, these kind of things, right? We can take some steps, some action that can help us with this situation. So it is the same when it comes to prarabdha. Many times we don't know and the situation comes, but we must always remember that agami karma is still with us. Sometimes we get to know through horoscope or through other means, we get to know what is in store for us. And that time we must not become fearful or we must not become give up. We cannot adopt the fatalistic approach and say, oh, this is my life, this is my karma. Unfortunately, in India, we see this happening very frequently because the law of karma is not properly understood. Nobody knows. They think karma means it is written in stone and this is the direction my life has to take and there is no altering it. But that is not the case. So even if sometimes we get a clue about prarabdha, there can be proper agami karma taken, and that is called as prayashchita karma, a remedial action. So sometimes it can be a general agami karma in the form of prayer, what we call as prarthana, or it can be a very specific remedy for a particular problem. So we know India is full of these, right? We have so many yajnas, temples, homas, these vrats that people take, that you do this thing and this thing will happen. So these are all specific pariharas, specific remedies for particular solution. And they are in the form of agami. So the success of any particular endeavor depends on these two things, prarabdha and agami. Sometimes we call it as Ishvara Anugraha, right? Ishvara Anugraha means the grace of the Lord. Grace of the Lord is nothing but prarabdha karma. So this effort, this self effort that we put in, and versus the grace of the Lord. Two things are always there. So the success of any action depends on the resultant between the agami karma and the prarabdha karma. So whichever is stronger, that will happen. So if it is a very weak kind of prarabdha and I put even medium agami, medium effort, then definitely there will be success. But if it is very strong prarabdha, then I have to put an equally strong agami, and still we are not sure. Still it might go either way because we don't know which one is stronger. Sometimes the agami is very weak and the prarabdha is very, very strong. Then the prarabdha will win. But it is important to remember that this prarabdha is of my own creation. My own past actions have resulted in this particular prarabdha, and this is what has got that situation in front of me. For example, if I have an exam on Monday and the prarabdha says that I will fail this exam, how did this prarabdha happen? Because for a whole of 1 year I did not study, and now 2 days before the exam, obviously there is a very strong prarabdha that I will fail. But still I have agami also. If I actually work and if I actually study in these 2 days, still there is a small chance. Of course, it depends on what kind of exam, but there is still a very small chance that maybe I may not fail. So, this is how it is. Okay, Agami versus Prarabdha. The combination of the two is what determines whether an action is successful or not. And this is what Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita. He points out that don't forget about Prarabdha karma. But at the same time, don't forget about Agami karma also. So we find that people are generally fixed on one or the other. If they're fixed on prarabdha, they will say, oh, this is my life, this is my fate, I cannot do anything, it's all hopeless. And they will behave in that hopeless manner. And then there are some people who are totally fixated on agami. I'm putting the efforts, but the result is not coming. So what am I supposed to do? I'm working so hard. And this kind of action, this kind of thing, that if I work hard, definitely I must succeed. But we have to remember that there are two things, prarabdha and agami. And what we can always do is do the best agami possible. Whatever I know best, I must do that, and then leave the rest to Bhagwan. Okay, this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. He says there is something called prarabdha. Don't forget that, but don't worry about it either. You just do your best and leave the rest to me. Okay, so we had seen till this point last time. Now there is one more. All the karma cannot be exhausted in one lifetime. Okay, so there is sanchita. From that sanchita, a small portion is taken. It becomes prarabdha for one particular lifetime. So it can be either a human birth or an animal birth or some other birth. And throughout that life, that prarabdha is exhausted. And at the end of the prarabdha, when the prarabdha is over, that body drops. Then what happens? The sukshma shariram travels. The sukshma shariram is what we call the jiva. So this jiva travels, and then the next prarabdha batch is allocated, next body is picked up, and so on. It goes on. This sanchita can never be exhausted through this process. It continues eternally. Okay? So if you ask when did it begin? When did all this karma start? When did my first karma come? When did it accumulate? What is the answer?
It is anadi. It is
Yes.
cyclical.
It is anadi. It has no beginning at all. So we have discussed when it comes to creation and destruction of the universe also, We have said it is cyclical in nature. There is no beginning, there is no end. It is something that keeps on happening eternally. So if you ask when did the first karma start, it is the same answer. So there cannot be one point that you can say is the beginning. And so when this is the case, how can you say how much quantity of sanchita there is? It has to keep going on eternally. It cannot be exhausted by experiencing or by, going through the different births. And that is why punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. It must keep on happening. And of course, in between, we have also this human birth, where more sanchita only grows after every human birth, provided jnanam does not happen. Right? So for the Ajnani, this cycle keeps on happening. And it cannot be exhausted in any one lifetime. There is a interesting little story about, it's not actually related to prarabdha, but we can extract the meaning. And I like to tell the story in every batch. So it's called The Merchant of Samara. So there is a merchant in the city of Baghdad, and he's in the market, and he's just shopping there. And suddenly he sees a man who is looking at him. And the man looks very surprised to see him. And so this merchant, somehow he knows that this man is death. He has come to take him. He has come to take his life. And so he knows this, and he of course panics and he runs away from there. He runs away from the market, he runs away from Baghdad only. And he says, I will go to another city which is called Samara, which is very far from Baghdad. And so the whole day he travels, and by night he reaches Samara. And then, as soon as he enters the city, he again sees the same man waiting for him. And now, this time, he knows for sure that this man is death. He has come to take him. This time, he doesn't fight and he doesn't run. He gives up and he says, okay, I know you are death and I know you have come for me. I'll come with you. Just tell me one thing. Why did you look so surprised to see me in Baghdad in the morning? And so Death replies that I was surprised to see you in Baghdad in the morning because I had an appointment with you in Samara in the evening. So the point of the story is that when Prarabdha is over, the body will drop. Okay, so we see many people trying to escape death by doing many things, but this end of the Prarabdha is one of those non negotiable things. Okay, when the prarabdha ends, then the body has to be dropped. And no matter how much we try to avoid it, no matter how much we try to escape it, we cannot. Okay, so this is the idea. And there's nothing to worry, because as Krishna says, dropping the body, what happens? We just acquire a new body, just like how you discard old clothes and replace them with fresh new clothes. So when the old clothes become dirty or torn or unusable, we get rid of them and we use fresh clothes, right? This is actually the example that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. So he says it is like changing your clothes. So the changing your clothes is like changing your bodies. Okay. Any questions till here?
Yeah, actually, we can't question it. Rebirth is a wonderful topic. Whether some people don't believe it, but the Shastras say there is rebirth.
Yes. It's, when you look around and you see different people with different behaviors, different specialities, it is probably this theory of karma is the only one that satisfactorily answers why the world is the way it is. When we look at very young children and their prodigies, they know mathematics or music at 4 years old, and you wonder, how do they know this? Because is it even possible for a 4-year-old with their limited brain functioning to learn that much mathematics in such a short time?
It is all prabdha.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Medhaji,
Yes.
when the gross body drops and the Sukshma Sharira travels, this storehouse of Sanchita Karma travels with the Sukshma Sharira?
Yes. The Karana Shariram can be said to be the house of these karma accounts.
And I had another question from the previous classes. In common parlance, we use the term conscience as Antaratma. What part exactly is it in Tattva Bodha that we've studied?
Which one? Which word?
Conscience.
Hmm?
When we say conscience,
Conscience. It'll be a function of the Antakarana, the whole,
the
uh,
whole of Antakarana.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Medhaji,
Yeah.
I have one question. So, as you mentioned earlier, that in Sanchita Karma or the Prarabdha Karma, whatever action you take, you are the only one who is responsible for the fruits, right? The karma cannot be transferred to anybody else. It's you who is going to go through all the prashchitta.
Yeah.
But what if we take some action, but and that action has gone awfully bad, and with us even other people have suffered? What how come my action is causing problem to someone else?
It appears that way, but that is not the case. You have done an
Okay.
action, but the prarabdha had dictated that you and all those people must suffer. So it is their
Mhm.
own prarabdhas that have put them in that situation. If the prarabdha said that there is no such suffering, somehow they would have escaped from even whatever you had done.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever we think that, oh, I caused something, it is actually not
Mhm.
me who has caused. It is their own prarabdha which has dictated that they will suffer. Sorry, which has dictated that they will suffer. And so they are in that situation. Otherwise, they would not be in that situation.
Got it. Thank you so much, Medhaji.
If you throw a stone at a dog, what guarantee do you have? 100% guarantee that the dog is going to be hurt? Any number of things can happen between you throwing the stone and the stone hitting the dog. There is no guarantee that the dog must suffer. If the dog's prarabdha says that it must suffer, then the stone will somehow hit it. Even if the stone doesn't hit it, something else will happen and the dog will suffer. But if this dog is not meant to suffer, then any number of things can happen, right? Between the stone throw and it reaching the dog,
Yeah.
right?
Thank you, Medhaji.
Okay. So we'll come back to the text now and we will finish it off today. There are a few more lines left and we will finish all of this. So let's read this. Jnanotpatyanantaram ज्ञानि देहकृतं पाप पुण्यपापरूपम्
ज्ञानिदेहकृतं पुण्यपापकृहं
कर्म यदस्ति
कर्म यदस्ति
तदागामित्यभिधीयते.
तदागामित्यभिधीयते.
All right. So till now what we had been discussing was the law of karma for ajnanis, okay, for the non-jnani. Now the obvious question is, what happens to the karmas of a jnani? So one clue the author has given previously, he said the jnani will be free from all the bondages of karma. What is the bondage of karma? Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, right? So again rebirth, again death, and then going through all those experiences of pleasure and pain in between. So this is the cycle and this is the bondage also, which the jnani is free from. Now he will explain a little more in detail about what happens exactly to the Jnani's karmas. So he says Jnana Utpatti Anantaram. Jnana Utpatti Anantaram. After knowledge has been born, meaning after self knowledge. Obviously, we are talking about after Nididhyasanam. So, after Nididhyasanam, he is a Jnani, right? This person is now a Jnani. What happens? Punya Papa Roopam Karma. So, whatever actions are done by this Jnani, the Jnani also needs to act in the world, right? He needs to eat, he needs to walk, he needs to do certain things. So these Punya Papa Rupa Karma Yadasti, whatever karma is there, which is in the form of Punyam and Papam, that is called as Agami. Tat Agami iti abhidhiyate. Such this karma is called as Agami. Now, there is one very interesting and key word in this sentence that must be looked at, which is Jnani Deha Kritam. Means the actions done by the body of the Jnani. So, Jnani is, of course, Jnani. Deha means body. Kritam means done. So, he's telling done by the body of the Jnani. Now, he could have easily put Jnani Kritam, done by the Jnani, actions done by the Jnani. But he has very clearly put Jnani Deha Kritam. Why? Because the body, the Jnani does not look at his body as the self. He doesn't think, I am the body. And that is why his body continues to act, right? Because it needs certain things. The body needs food, body needs air. Body has to continue to do certain things. It will continue. But the Jnani is no longer associated with the body. He doesn't have Deha Abhimana, means identification with the body. And this karma, what is done by the body of the Jnani, that is called as Agami karma. Now, what is the difference between the Jnanis and the Ajnanis Agami karma? When does it start? For the Jnani, when does it start? The Agami karma. The answer is in this line itself.
At birth, Medaji?
At birth, for the
Abhidhyate is
When
a
he
student.
becomes, the moment he becomes Jnani.
Yeah,
yes,
it's a
from
moment
when he
he
is a Jnani. So the answer is given here. Jnana Utpatti Anantaram. From after knowledge has arisen. So for the Jnani, this Agami karma starts from when he is a Jnani. Until when does it go on?
Till the body drops.
Till his body drops. Okay. And what about the Ajnani? When does the Agami karma start?
From birth.
Agami karma starts at birth. Not at birth,
how should
as
you
soon as
understand
that
this?
person starts taking deliberate actions.
Yes. When we say birth, we mean from the point of independent decisions, independent thinking. So small babies don't have Agami karma, but they once they become little older and once they start taking independent decisions, from that point on, we have Agami karma. Until when for the Ajnani, this
Continues. It continues. And it's added to
Till
the
death. Till death, Medaji?
till death, and then
Till consciousness is available to that human being.
till the medium is available. Consciousness is always available till the medium is available to reflect the consciousness.
Okay.
Anyway, till the death of that particular person. And then it continues in the next life. Obviously, human life. Only human life has Agami karma. So in the next human life, again, it continues. So just because at death, it doesn't mean it's a full stop. It's more like a comma. Whereas for the Jnani, it is a full stop. Okay, so this is what the author is telling in this. He's talking about the Agami karma of the Jnani. He will explain how exactly it is destroyed or how exactly this Jnani is free from this bondage of Agami karma. Why is Agami karma a bondage?
Is this Agami karma which adds on to the Sanchita karma
Yes.
for future? It's a seed for the future action.
Yes.
Pleasure and
So
pain.
while Agami karma is a powerful tool, it is also the reason why Punyam and Papam keeps on generating. And every time there is Punyam and Papam, it has to be experienced and exhausted. So rebirth keeps on happening. So in this way, it is a bondage. We will see a bit later how the Jnani is free from this. Okay, now Sanchita karma. Sanchitam karma kim
सञ्चितकर्म किम्
anantakoti janmanam
अनन्तकोटिजन्मनां
बीजभूतं सत्यत् कर्म जातं
बीजभूतं तत् कर्मजातं
पूर्वार्जितं तिष्ठति
पूर्वार्जितं तिष्ठति
तत्सञ्चितं ज्ञेयं
तत्सञ्चितं ज्ञेयम्.
Now the question is, what is Sanchita karma? What is Sanchita karma for the Jnani is answered here, but we have already discussed for Ajnani also. So the question is, what is Sanchita karma? So he has given the answer, Yat karma jatam purvarjitam. What karma has been generated from previous lives. Okay, the previously done karmas that have now been stored in the seed form. Bija, bija, bhutam. It is stored in the seed form. And what kind of seed? In the form of punyam and papam, which are the seeds for future experiences. So this is what this word means. Purvarjitam. Arjitam means accumulated. Purva means previously. Karma jatam. So what is born out of karma, the actions. So what has been born out of previously done actions from previously in previous lives and which is accumulated. And accumulated in what form? Seed form. That is called as sanchitam. Okay. Tishtati means which is there. So that is called as sanchita karma. Gneyam means know it, know this. So know that this karma is called as sanchita karma. And now what does this bija bhutam do? What do these seeds of this future experience do? They give rise to ananta koti janma. They are the seed for countless future lives. Ananta koti, ananta means endless, countless. Koti means crore. Janmanam means births. So it gives rise to countless crores of births. This Sanchita, what is stored in the potential form. Okay. Now for the Ajnani, the Sanchita is from, from even now it is there, and all the previously done karmas, all the lifetimes, whatever has been done, all of that stored is Sanchita. And it is still counting for the Ajnani. It is still counting, as in at the end of the present life also, more stock will get added to the Sanchita. But for the Jnani, what happens? At the point of Jnanam, that is the full stop for Sanchita. There is no more Sanchita being added. Okay? So for the Jnani, all the previous Sanchita up to the point of Jnanam. that is called as Sanchita for the Jnani. Is this clear?
No.
But why, Medhaji? But how?
Yeah, we will see, because he is, for the Jnani, all the karmas are destroyed. So up to the point of Jnanam, whatever Sanchita he had, that is the Sanchita, and he is no longer affected or bound by it. The only difference between Jnani and Ajnani is, for the Ajnani it is still counting, and for the Jnani it has stopped counting.
Mehtaji means that once a person becomes a jnani, the sanchita will not add on, but is it still there or is it destroyed?
Yeah, this we will see. So what actually happens to the Jnani Sanchita also, the author will explain. We will see in the next.
इसके लिए कोई और संचिता नहीं है जो है वो
Okay, so then we can see the next one. Prarabdham karma kimiti chet.
प्रारब्धं कर्म किमिति चेत्
Idam shariram utpadhya.
Idam
शरीरमुत्पाद्य
Iha loke eva sukha dukkhadi pradam.
iha loke eva sukha dukkhadipadam
पदम्
Yat karma tat prarabdham.
yat karma tat
प्रारब्धम्
Bhogena nashtam bhavati.
bhoge nashtam bhavati
Prarabdha karmanam bhogad eva kshaya iti.
प्रारब्धकर्मणां भोगादेव क्षयम् इति
Okay. So now the question is, what is prarabdha karma? So prarabdha is, we have discussed what has to be experienced in this life. Now for the jnani and for the ajnani, prarabdha karma remains the same. So even after acquiring jnanam, prarabdha karma still has to be experienced. Okay, and what is this prarabdha karma? This author says as idam shariram utpadya, the cause of this body, the cause of me acquiring this body is prarabdha karma. Idam means this, shariram is body, utpadya means to generate or to acquire. So the cause of me getting this particular body, ihaloke, in this particular world. So the choice of the world, choice of the situation where I find myself, the choice of body, all of this is designed by prarabdha. Prarabdha is like the blueprint of life. So it is the one that determines the kind of life and the kind of body in that kind of world, how it should be. Ihaloke eva sukha dukkhadi pradam. Sukha, dukha, pradam. Pradam means to give. So it gives pleasure and pain. This prarabdha is the giver of the experiences of pain and pleasure. Of course, in the form of papam and punyam. So we know it is the seed or the potential for these favorable and unfavorable kind of experiences. So prarabdha is the one that gives the experience of pleasure and pain. Yat karma, that karma which does all of this that we just spoke about, tat prarabdham, that is called as prarabdham. And now how do you get rid of this prarabdha, or how is this prarabdha exhausted? Bhogena nashtam bhavati. It is exhausted only by experiencing. There is no shortcut for prarabdha. There is no avoiding prarabdha. It has to be experienced, and then only it can be exhausted. And what about the jnani? Prarabdha karmanam bhogad eva kshaya iti. So again, the author repeats here. He says, prarabdha karmanam, this prarabdha karma, bhogad eva. Bhoga is to experience. Eva means only. Kshaya means destroyed. So it is destroyed only by experiencing it. Only through experience, this prarabdha karma can be destroyed, and this applies even for the jnani. So just because he is a jnani doesn't mean that all the problems will go away. Okay, so for the jnani, so we have many examples, right? If you know about Swami Shivananda's life or Ramana Maharishi's life, you know that they all had a lot of diseases towards the later, towards the ending part of their lives. So we say they are jnani and yet they have diseases. So a lot of people get this contradiction that how can a jnani get a disease? So it is the jnani's body that has got a disease. And just because they are jnanis doesn't mean that the problems of the world magically disappear. They also face situations, they also face old age, disease, all these things. The difference is that they are not affected by it. It is like a pinprick to them in the face of Brahmananda. They have happiness in the form of Brahmananda. And compared to that, every other suffering is like a very, very small little minor pinprick which doesn't even register. It does not affect them. The body goes through its whatever course it has to go through, but they remain untouched by all this suffering, all the problems. But that doesn't mean the problem itself goes away. It is just that they are unaffected. So, this is another important teaching that Vedanta will not magically make the problems disappear. It will just make me strong enough that I am not affected by the problems. Okay, so for example, to give you an example of this, suppose you play a game with your friend and then you lost the game. So now maybe you're feeling a little sad that I've lost the game, but suddenly you get a phone call that you won the lottery. It's a lot of money. Now, does the pain of losing that game register in the face of the happiness of winning the lottery?
No.
No, right? Does this mean that the pain of losing has gone away? Does the situation change? You have still lost the game, right? The situation is the same, but you are no longer touched by the pain. Why? Because there is a different source of happiness for you. So for the Jnani, that source is Atma Ananda.
Mitaji, this source of happiness, isn't that also a part of prarabdha karma?
No. When it comes to Jnanam, we
Okay.
don't say. Because Jnanam is only acquired through self-effort, right? It doesn't just come and fall on your lap, right?
Mm-hmm. But some people also say that even that, you being blessed with jnanam also is part of your prarabdha.
Prarabdha is what? Your agami. You must have worked for it in a previous life.
So say me becoming a jnani in this janma is not a part of prarabdha, but it's my own efforts.
Yes, it is your own effort. Prarabdha is also your own effort, but done previously, which is
In
now,
previous janmas.
it's easy to alienate ourselves from prarabdha and think that that is some separate thing that randomly comes and hits me. But that's not how it is. It is my own action that has come from a different this thing. If in this life situation is conducive for jnanam, it is because you have worked for this in some previous life.
Mm-hmm. And when you also said that it has to be experienced, that whatever prarabdha that has to be experienced, only then will it cease to exist or be. So when Ramana Maharshi had this wound on his leg, and you're saying that it may be like a prick to him when he's experiencing the bigger, dimension of him becoming a jnani. But then that means that he's not experiencing that completely.
It is they are not identified with the body anymore. So it has to be understood like that. So if you read any accounts of Ramana Maharishi or Swami Shivananda, they actually physically, there might have been a lot of suffering, but they don't even register. You will not see the suffering on their face or in their eyes.
Mm.
You read the accounts, and in fact, there are even some videos of some of the
Mm.
contemporary masters. So you will see even
So,
Swami
Mehtaji,
Dayananda Saraswati's last few days, if you ever manage to read or find a video or something, you can see.
Mehtaji,
Mm.
so we are given sufferings for us to suffer. When we don't suffer with those given sufferings, does it go on to our account of prarabdha, or does it get nullified?
In what sense do you mean not
In the
suffer
sense,
the
if I
suffering?
have a disease and I acquire like the great souls, they have not experienced the suffering in toto, isn't it?
It's not like that. They have gone through the situation.
Oh, they have overcome it.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So it will not
Going
go
through the
ahead and add on
situation-
to their previous account, isn't it?
No, that will not happen. The situation has presented itself and you
Ah.
have gone through. And at every point this happens. We are presented with so many situations, but the same situation.
How we take it or how we react, is that what you
Yes.
mean?
Yes, always agami plus prarabdha
Okay,
for
okay,
the non-jnani.
okay, okay. Thank you, Mehtaji.
Even
Thank
for
you.
us, the same situation affects different people differently, right?
Yeah,
It's not the same for everybody. There's
yeah.
that example, no? If you put a potato and an egg in hot water is the situation, it's the same. But the potato becomes soft and the egg becomes hard.
Yeah.
Same situation, different.
Individuals' reaction to a present situation is what you want to stress.
Yes. So it is different. That doesn't mean that, that suffering, it is not the intent of prarabdha to make you suffer. It is
Oh,
just
okay.
that because of our misguided understanding of the world, because of our own misconceptions,
We are
suffer.
undergoing.
Yes.
Okay.
The situation is what it is.
Okay.
Whether we suffer or not is a result of our own perception of the thing.
Okay. Okay. Clear, Ji. Thank you. Thank you, Ji.
Mehtaji, one
Mehta-
question on the same topic, what we just spoke. Say if I say there is my prarabdha where I have to suffer for a certain in a situation, and the other person, say a friend, he or she feels that I'm suffering too much in that situation.
Mhm.
So that too much suffering, is it because of my conditioning and my perception, or is it the prarabdha that is making me experience or that situation in that way?
Prarabdha will put a situation in front of you. Prarabdha will also give you a particular kind of body and a particular kind of mind.
Mm.
Of course, this can be influenced through agami. Okay, so agami is always there, but prarabdha will put you in a particular situation and give you certain resources in the form of body, in the form of situation, and in the form of external everything.
Mm.
Now, whether you suffer or not is entirely, up to you. So generally, when you look at the cause of suffering, it is because I think I am this body, and at max, I am associated with few objects around me. I think, okay, my spouse, my children, my parents, and then you don't want to see these my suffer. It's okay if a random person on the street is suffering, but me and mine should not suffer. This, when you drill down to the root of it, you will find that ignorance is the cause. And what kind of ignorance? Ignorance that I am separate and the world is separate.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
And then, so that is why the feeling that the world inflicts pain upon me comes. But when you realize that actually there are no two things, then is there even suffering?
Yeah.
Mm.
Can your, like, for example, if your right hand accidentally scratches your left hand,
Mm.
does your left hand say that, the right hand is inflicting pain upon me?
We don't because
Yes.
we usually don't.
We don't. Because
Yeah.
you understand, no, that this is the
Yeah.
body, these things happen.
Mm.
So that way,
Mm.
when there is no more duality in the vision, when there is,
Mhm.
this Advaitic understanding,
Mm.
then what kind of suffering can there be? Generally,
Okay.
the suffering is when we feel that somebody else is trying to make me feel pain or taking away my objects,
Mm. Mm.
these kind of things.
Yeah.
But when you don't see the world that way anymore, can there be
Mm.
suffering?
No. It goes a little bit towards feeling detached to whatever is happening around. Is that what is the meaning, Medaji? A form of detachment to whatever we think it's
Detachment,
ours.
yes, in a way. But again, I will remind you that the detachment has to be of the correct understanding. We are not talking about aloof or indifferent kind of
Yeah.
detachment.
Mm-mm.
The English meaning of the word detachment,
Mhm.
which has
Mhm.
negative connotations.
True,
Actually.
true.
Detachment for us is a different meaning.
Mm.
All right.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Okay, so now,
Medhaji, I have one question.
yeah.
Does Gyani know that he's Gyani?
I don't know, you'll have to ask a Gyani.
Because all we are talking about that Gyani does not have to go through all the Sanchita karma and everything. So I want to know, how come we will come to know whether we or someone is Gyani?
Actually, it is not possible to know whether someone is Jnani or not. The
Wow, okay.
SPG himself has said it. Like, how will you verify? Is there a test? There is no way.
Okay.
But the study continues. And when the assimilation happens, then, or maybe you can
Okay.
find somebody and let us all know.
Anyways, thank you.
Okay, so, all right. So this is not the end, but yeah, we'll continue from here. It might take 15 minutes more, but there's very little, so I want to finish it. Okay. Sanchita karma brahmaivahamiti
Sanchita karma
Brahman
brahmaivahamiti
निश्चयात्मक ज्ञानेन नश्यति.
nishchayatmakajnanena nashyati.
Right. So now we are going to talk about how each of these karmas are destroyed. So for the prarabdha karma, we discussed that it can only be destroyed through experiencing, even for the jnani. Now for this sanchita karma, this knowledge, this aham brahmasmi knowledge is so powerful that it destroys the sanchita karma. It is as if destroyed. So the example generally given is of a dream. Suppose, you're sleeping, you're in a dream, and then you have done many things in the dream, good things and bad things. Suppose, for example, you've stolen a lot of money and now you're very rich in the dream, but in the next scene, you get caught and now you're about to go to jail and then you wake up. Now, does the wealth of the dream follow you into the waking world?
No.
No. Does the jail, that papam of going to jail, does that follow you?
No.
No. So what happened? Where did all that go? You have done actions in the dream, right? You have made some wealth and you have done some papam. So there's punyam papam. What happened to all that punyam and papam?
In
That is
dream state, there is no doership.
a dependent reality. It's mithya.
It is mithya. So
It's a dream.
it's a dream. That's correct. What happens? What is the difference between the
Yeah.
dream world and this waking world?
The intellect is not involved. In the dream state, we are not
Let us
consciously
assume it
doing
is.
the
Like, let
karma.
us assume you have generated some karma in the dream. What happens? What is the difference?
It was there only for you and not for.
We are not responsible for the actions, so there is no sense of doership that is attached to us.
No, I'm asking why doesn't the dream karma follow you into the waking world?
Because when you wake up, then the dream is over and everything is over.
Over means
Also
what?
not attached to it.
When it doesn't exist, you feel like it doesn't exist anymore.
So the
Medaji,
answer is that, yes.
is it that a part of the Sanchita karma is what that is appearing in your dream and you experience that dream in the dream state and a part of it is kind of exhausted?
It's actually exhausting prarabdha, every dream, but not Sanchita. But the answer I'm looking for this particular thing is that the dream world and the waking world are two different orders of reality. Right? Will you ever say that the dream world is reality? That's why it's called a dream, right? We use the word knowing that it is a lesser order of reality.
But on a lighter note, I would say for sometimes I feel my dreams are more real than the actual reality.
But Medaji, when you say dreams are a part of exhausting prarabdha karma, if we get bad dreams, does it say we are nullifying our prarabdha karma?
Not nullifying. You're experiencing papam in the dream. You're exhausting papa prarabdha in the dream.
Oh, but is it good for us or not? Because we get very scared getting out of a bad dream. So sometimes it doesn't, we don't get over it. So
There's
it's
neither good nor bad. It is just exhausting karma. Just like how you go through experiences in daily life.
Okay.
The same way, you are exhausting another experience there. That's all.
Okay. So actually good for an individual, isn't it? We are exhausting our prarabdha bad karma.
But there's still a lot more, no? Where it came from.
I know.
It doesn't end. Sanchita is, like we discussed, countless. The only solution for this is jnanam. To get out of this whole karmic cycle, the only solution is jnanam.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether, this is the same, one more, line of thinking for that mercy killing discussion that we had 1 or 2 classes back. So we see somebody suffering and we think, okay, I should help them and all. But does it really end?
No, it doesn't.
So by cutting the life short, we have just postponed it, right?
It's carried forward, isn't it?
Carried forward. They will go through it again in a different time, different place, different body. Can it ever be really, and we think that, oh, I have helped, I have ended the suffering. But actually, according to the law of karma, I have not done any such thing. They will just come back and carry on suffering. Maybe that time I won't be around. That's all. That's the only thing. So even mercy killing is like, if you really look at it, it's more for myself than for the other person. I cannot watch them suffer. Therefore, I, do it.
Yeah, it's a form of selfishness, probably.
Everything is. That is another one of the Upanishadic statements. Anyway, that we'll see later. I think we have discussed. You will see it later. Okay, so coming back to the dream and the waking world. The dream world is a different order of reality. It's a lesser order of reality. That is why we say it is mithya. It is dependent on you, right? The dream doesn't exist without you. And the dream is not separate from you also. Can you say separate the dream and separate me? That's not possible. So the dream is very much, non-separable from you, and it is dependent on you. If you are not there, the dream cannot be there, right? So that makes the dream world a lesser order of reality. And we know this. That is why we say, right, that I had a dream last night. Or we tell some people, oh, you're dreaming. Meaning what? This is not reality. This is not how it is. So whatever is done in the dream world, the karma done in the dream world, cannot affect me in the waking world. They are two different orders of reality totally. And so the papam from the dream cannot affect me here, nor can the wealth or punyam or anything follow me from the dream into the waking world, right? So waking up is so powerful that it is as if the dream karma is destroyed. In the same way, this jnanam is so powerful that sanchita karma is as if destroyed, because now I am no longer identified with the body mind sense complex, but I am identified with Brahman. I know I am Brahman. I know I am unlimited consciousness alone. And this Vyavaharika, the rest of the world, what we see, this Anatma portion, what we call, is nothing but Mithya. It is nothing but a lesser order of reality as compared to the Paramatmika. And so nothing from this world can ever affect the Paramatmika order of reality. Just like how the dream can never affect the waking world. Even if there is a bomb explosion in your dream, nothing will be happening in the real world. In the same way, whatever happens in this order of reality does not affect Brahman in any way whatsoever. And since Aham Brahmasmi, I know that I am this limitless Brahman, this limitless consciousness principle, the infinite existence principle. Since I know that, since I know I am whole, I am complete, I am Purnatvam, then nothing from this world can affect me. And so Sanchita belongs to which order of reality? Paramatmika or Vyavaharika?
Vyavaharika.
Vyavaharika, right? So it cannot affect the Paramatmika. And since I am no longer identified with the Vyavaharika, with the body mind sense complex, since there is no more Deha Abhimana, then there is no more Sanchita Karma. So for the Jnani, because of the knowledge, the Sanchita Karma is destroyed. So Sanchita Karma, Brahmaiva Aham iti. Brahma eva Aham iti. I am indeed Brahman. I am Brahman alone. With this understanding, Nishchayatmika Jnanena. Nishchayatmaka means very firm, very convinced knowledge. Jnanena Nashyati, destroyed. So this Sanchita is as if destroyed through the firm knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi. Okay? When we say Nishchayatmika Jnanena, we obviously mean at the end of Nididhyasanam. Okay? So this is how Sanchita is also taken care. It cannot affect me in the higher order of reality. Okay?
Strangely, Medhaji, Jnanam is also a part of Mithya.
Yes. Jnanam is what? Transfer of knowledge, right? Speaking and receiving. For that, you do need duality. We are not negating the lesser order of reality. We are not saying it doesn't exist or it's not valuable or all that. We are saying that it's a different order of reality.
In fact, it is valuable because
yes, it is
only
valuable because this is the only way, no, for Jnanam.
Yes.
Okay, let's read this. Agami karma api.
Agami karma api.
Jnanena nashyati.
Jnanena nashyati.
Kincha agami karmanam.
Kincha agami karmanam.
Nalini dalagata jalavat.
Nalini dalagata jalavat.
Jnaninam sambandho nasti. So the same thing applies to agami karma, that if there is no deha abhimana, if there is no ahankara, then there can be no desire or no motivation behind any action. Usually most actions are guided by personal desire, right? And this desire exists because I have this identification with the body. I think I'm the body, and so I have certain desires for myself, for my, for what is mine. So these desires, these kind of desires are there. So as long as this identification is there, there will be motivation behind every action. But for the Jnani, because he does not have Deha Abhimana, there is no personal desire behind the action. And so that is why his body may continue to act, but it does not generate any Agami karma. Agami karma is only generated when there is intention or desire behind the action. But for the Jnani, because he doesn't even have Deha Abhimana, he doesn't have desire, and so no Agami karma. So that is what the author says. Agami karma api jnanena nashyati. Api means even, jnanena means by jnanam, nashyati means destroyed. So even agami karma is destroyed by jnanam. That is the meaning. And how do we understand this? When we say destroyed, we don't actually mean destroyed because it doesn't even arise in the first place. So in that way, it is destroyed. It does not even arise for the jnani. Kincha agami karmanam nalini dalagata jalavata. So he gives an example of nalini dalagata jalavata. Nalini dala is a lotus leaf and jala is a drop of water. So when there is a drop of water on the lotus leaf, does the lotus leaf get wet?
No.
No. It is there and it is almost, kind of floating there. It doesn't actually, there is no relationship or association between the leaf and the water. Superficially, they appear like they're together, but the leaf does not even get wet by this water. So in the same way, superficially it appears like the jnani is doing actions, but actually there is no relationship between jnani and the agami karma. So that is what he says, jnaninam sambandho nasti. Sambandha is the association or relationship. Nasti means not there. So just like the water on the lotus leaf, there is no relationship between the agami karma and the jnani. Okay. Kincha ye jnaninam
Kincha ye jnanam
stunvanti bhajanti archayanti
स्तुवन्ति भजन्ति अर्चयन्ति
तान् प्रति ज्ञानिकृतम् आगामि पुण्यं गच्छति.
तान् प्रति
ज्ञानिकृतम् आगामि पुण्यं गच्छति
ये ज्ञानिनां निन्दति द्विषन्ति
ये ज्ञानिनां निन्दन्ति द्विषन्ति
दुःखप्रदानं कुर्वन्ति
दुःखप्रदानं कुर्वन्ति
तान् प्रति ज्ञानिकृतं सर्वमागामि क्रियमाणम्
तान् प्रति ज्ञानिकृतं सर्वमागामि क्रियमाणम्
यद्वाच्यं कर्म पापात्मकम्
यद्वाच्यं पापात्मकं
तद्गच्छति
तद्गच्छति
सुहृदः पुण्यकृत्यं
सुहृदः पुण्यकृत्यं
दुर्हृद्यः पापकृत्यं
दुर्हृदः पापकृत्यं
गृह्णन्ति. All right.
Mehtaji, just one thing. Tan prapti or tan prati?
Tan prati.
Pardon?
Tan prati.
Prati, okay.
Prati.
It this text says tan prapti.
No, it is tan prati.
Okay.
Text.
The one that's you have shared on the screen.
No.
The English text shows tan in English, tan prapti.
Okay, no, it is tan prati.
Okay.
Okay, so this is basically just a little marketing strategy to advise people to praise or respect the Jnani and not hurt the Jnani. So the Jnani doesn't bother either way. If you praise the Jnani, he doesn't feel elated. And if you criticize the Jnani, he doesn't feel hurt. Okay, so in no way the Jnani will react either to praise or either to criticism. So some people might try to take advantage of this. So there is a little warning verse that is been given here. So it says, Kincha ye jnaninam. Further, to this jnani or for this jnani, sthunvanti, bhajanti, archayanti. Stunvanti means singing the praises or glorifying this jnani. Bhajanti is to serve or worship. Archayanti is to do puja or worship the jnani. So the one who respects and reveres the jnani, tan prati, towards them, to them. So those people who praise the jnani, tan prati, to them, jnani kritam, agami punyam gacchati. The agami punyam of the jnani will go to those people. Okay, jnani kritam means done by jnani. Agami punyam is the punyam. Gacchati is go. So he's telling those people who respect the jnani, who praise the jnani, who sing the jnani's bhajans and glorify the jnani, to them the jnani's agami punyam will go. Now this is a figurative way of saying that this person will get punyam. Cannot be taken literally. It has to be taken figuratively. Okay, so they will get punyam is the idea. Why? Because they are worshipping the jnani, they are praising the jnani, so they will get punyam. There cannot be a transfer of the jnani's agami karma to the other person, right? Why? Because first of all, transfer is not allowed in the law of karma. And secondly, because the jnani's agami karma does not even arise. So how can it be transferred? So we have to understand the meaning behind the words. This is called Arthavada Vakya, a figurative way of saying certain things. So if you praise the Jnani, you will get Punyam. That is the gist. Then what happens if somebody doesn't praise the Jnani? So Nindati, Nindanti means hurts or troubles the Jnani. Dvishanti, hates the Jnani. Dukkha pradhanam kurvanti, does an action that will cause pain to the Jnani. Dukkha is sorrow, pradhanam is to give, kurvanti is action. So an action that causes sorrow for the Jnani or causes or troubles the Jnani, tan prati papam gacchati. Toward that person, the Jnani's papam will go. So what have they said here? Jnani kritam sarva agami kriyamanam yadvachyam karma papatmakam tad gacchati. So whatever done by the Jnani's words or action, which are papa karma, that will go to this person who troubles the Jnani. So again, this has to be taken figuratively, that it has that whoever hurts the Jnani, he will get papam by his own action, not because it is transferred. Why? Because it cannot be transferred. There cannot be agami karma for a Jnani. It doesn't even arise. And thirdly, can a Jnani be capable of committing papam? If even the Jnani does papam, then what is the hope for all of us? What is the use of Shastra? Right? So the Jnani cannot commit papam. He does not have agami karma. So this has to be understood as a figurative way of saying that a person gets papam if he troubles or hurts the jnani. So, suhrudav punya krityam. So, the well-wishers get punyam. Durhrudav, the people who trouble the jnani or who don't wish well for the jnani, papa krityam. Grinhanti, they accumulate punyam and papam based on how they behave with the jnani. Okay, so it is just a glorified way of saying don't trouble the jnani and worship the jnani, then you will get punyam. So this is the idea. Now with this we have come to almost the last line of Tattva Bodha. This line and the next line both have similar kind of meaning. This line is talking about Jivan Mukti. Okay, so Tatha cha atmavit samsaram tirtva
तथा
आत्मविसंसारं तीर्त्वा
brahmanandamiham prapnoti
ब्रह्मानन्दमिह प्राप्नोति
tarati shokamatmavit iti shrutehe.
तरति शोकमात्मवित् इति श्रुतेः.
So this is the concluding line. The author is winding up. So he says, Tatha cha, therefore. So and therefore, from everything that we have discussed in the whole text, Atmavit. Atmavit is another name for Jnani. Atmavit means the one who knows Atma. So the one who knows Atma, what happens? Samsaram tirtva. He crosses samsaram. Tirtva means to cross over, to get beyond. So he crosses over samsaram. And what is this samsaram? Here, this samsaram is in the form of the three types of karmas, the sanchita, prarabdha, and agami. You can even look at it as the three bodies. So, however you want to look at it, this jnani has crossed over the samsaras. And what happens when he crosses all the samsara? Brahmanandam iha eva prapnoti. He Brahmananda prapnoti. He acquires Brahmanandam, Atma Ananda, the bliss of knowing that I am Brahman. This Ananda he has now acquired Iha eva. And Iha means here, meaning while still living in this very life, in this very world itself. So he is talking about Jivan Mukti, not something that comes later on in some other world, not future promises, but here and now, this Brahmananda Prapnoti. Okay. And then he gives a statement from Chandogya Upanishad, just, like a quotation. These research papers at the end, they have one reference, like where they have got certain, just to validate, So he has given one quotation from Shruti, Tarati Shokam Atmavit. Shruti means Upanishad. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. It says Tarati Shokam Atmavit. Tarati means to cross. Shokam means sorrow. Atmavit is Jnani. So the Jnani crosses over all sorrow. So the Jnani has gone beyond grief. He is no longer troubled by problems. He no longer feels grief or sorrow. And this is a statement from Shruti. Okay. And since now we have discussed Jivan Mukti, why do we know it's Jivan Mukti? Because of the use of the word Iha, Brahma Nandam Iha. So here and now. So then what happens when the Jnani drops his body? So that also he has given one more quotation from Smriti. Okay. And he says, this is in verse form. It is the last and final verse of Tattva Bodha. So if you remember the very first one, Vasudevendra was in Anushtup Chanda, which you can sing, it is in verse form. And this, which is the last verse, this is also in Anushtup Chanda, which we can chant and sing. So we'll read this. Tanum tyajatu va kashyam
Tanum yajatu va
shvapachasya grihe thava
Thava
jnana samprapti samaye mukto sau vigatashayah iti smritescha. So he has given one more quote from Smriti talking about the Videha Mukti. So we know what happens in Jivan Mukti. What about Videha Mukti? And so he says, Tanum Tyajatu. Tanum is body. Tyajatu means to give up. So leaving the body, giving up the body. And where is he talking about now? He says Kashyam, in Kashi. Kashi is a place. It's supposed to be a holy city in North India. So giving up the body in Kashi, or this va, Shvapachasya grihe. Shvapacha is a person who eats a dog. So a dog eater. So in other words, a very uncultured, unsophisticated kind of person. And it is also considered a papam to be a dog eater by Shastra. So Shvapachasya grihe. So in the house of a dog eater. So in the house of an uncultured, unsophisticated person. So Kashi is a very holy place. And Shvapachasya grihe is supposed to be a very unholy place. So he's telling whether this Jnani gives up his body, whether he leaves his body in Kashi, which is the holiest of holy places, or in this Shvapachasya grihe, in the house of this dog eater. It doesn't matter. He's telling it doesn't matter. And why it doesn't matter? Because Jnana Samprapti Samaye. Jnana is Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. Samprapti. Prapti means to acquire. Samprapti means properly acquire. In other words, assimilation also has happened. There is full nishtha in the jnanam. Okay, there is complete nididhyasanam has happened. So when jnana samprapti has happened, samaye means at the time. So at the time of having acquired this knowledge properly, mukta asau. Asau means he, mukta is free. So this person is free at the time of having this knowledge. So in other words, the presence or absence of the physical body is irrelevant to the jnani. Once he has jnanam as a jivan mukta, then it doesn't matter where the videha mukta happens. Whether it happens in Kashi, whether it happens in the Shvapachasya Grihe, anywhere in the time of death, the mode of death, manner of death, place of death, doesn't matter for the jnani. Why? Because at the time of jnana samprapti, he is already free. He is already liberated. So vigat ashayah. This ashayah means karma. Ashayah is here is used to mean karma. Vigata is to be free from. So this jnani is free from all the karmas at the time of jnana samprapti. And this is said in the Smriti, iti smritesha. So he has quoted one line from Shruti and one from Smriti. And with this, he concludes his text. And with this, we also conclude our study. Iti Tattva Bodha Prakaranam Samaptam. The text is done. So yeah, thank you all for your patience. We exceeded by half an hour today, but yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Medhaji, for
Thank you so much, Meghaji.
You did so beautifully.
Thank you, Medhaji.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
Thank you,
Medhaji.
Thank
The
you.
text is over, but the Mananam starts now.
yes, so of course you still have BG5 going on. So do continue with those classes. A lot of you get a lot more clarity in Bhagavad Gita. More things are explained, elaborated. So Tattva Bodha is like a foundation, but on that you will have to continue to build. And for revision of Tattva Bodha, we have another batch going on. So you are always welcome to join that. And of course, BG5 on Sundays is there. So please do join that for your continued studies.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank
Thank you, Medha.
Thank you, Medhaji.
So
Thank you, ma'am.
let's end with
Thank you, Medhaji.
Thank you.
Om
Om
Purnamada Purnamidam Avashyate
Shanti.
Harihi Om
Harihi
Shri
Namaha. Harihi
Harihi Om.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Namaskar.